biggest mistakes that new investors make in crypto is jumping in blind. Today, I want to share with you a few pointers on how we research projects that we would like to invest into. Welcome to Everyday Profits, where we talk mindset, abundance, wealth creation, and building the life of your dreams. Let's get into it. First, a quick disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor, and the content we share here is for educational, informational purposes only. It is based on our personal experiences and journey. Please always do your own research and seek professional advice before making any financial decisions. Hello, and welcome back to another video, another podcast for Everyday Profits. I'm so excited that you've chosen to join me, to spend your time with me, to help me, grow our channel and to really, share with people the deep passion that I have for the cryptocurrency industry and what it can do to change our lives. Now, today I want to share with you a little bit about a few steps that we take on how we look into a project before we invest into it. And what does that look like? Like, where are we going? Where do we find that information? I remember when we first started in crypto, people would say that the term do your own research. So DYOR, it's floated around everywhere in pretty well every aspect of life, but it's huge in crypto. Do your own research. And I remember hearing these words when like our coaches, for example, would come up with would be trying to educate us, on how we invest in crypto. And they would say, do your own research. And I was always like, but where and how and what even is that? And I was constantly tearing my hair out, trying to figure out what does do your own research truly mean? And it's only been through experience over the years as we've gone through about, what does this do your own research mean? How does that play into it? And so today I want to share with you, if you see something, especially hype on social media, or if you hear a tip from a mate, or if you've seen something pump and you think that that's going to be awesome, I'm going to jump in on that. What I want to share with you is just different ideas and different thoughts that I would encourage you to go through, and have sort of a system in place that you would tick and flick before you go and invest into something, before you go and put your hard-earned cash into an investment. Okay. And the thing to remember too is that you don't need to be a tech genius or a trader or someone who's sophisticated in investing to be able to actually do your own research and to be able to actually, you start to build some understanding of, is this project a scam? Is it good? Is it not? Is it going to go anywhere? Is it dead? Is it alive? All those sorts of different things. And so I want to share with you like a simple framework that we use before we invest a single dollar into anything. We will do our research, we will look into it, and we'll start to understand whether this particular project that we want to invest into actually ticks our boxes. And so in this video, I've broken it down into 4 different areas. So I've got the team, the utility, the tokenomics, and the community. Okay. And I want to share with you a few different tools that I personally use that you can then go and use yourself. They're free. They're available to everybody. Just to give you ideas of how you can actually start your own process and how do you start, peeling back them layers and really starting to investigate into these certain projects that you would like to invest in. So then that way you can become like a stronger, a confident investor, and you can really, really start to grow and build your portfolio. So the first place that I'd like to start is simply with the team. So who is behind the project? So I guess the first thing you need to ask yourself is, well, where did I hear about this? So if you've been told to go and buy, ABC coin, for example, who told you this? Like, where did you hear this? Where did you first see it? How did it become on your radar? Start to really peel them layers back and try to really hone in on like where was this seed sown? Okay, so was it on social media? Was it on X? Try and find exactly where it was, so then you have the opportunity then to go deeper and deeper. And when you go to look at the team, right, once you know what token, what project it is that you want to invest into, start to understand who is the team. Do they have a reputation? Can you find them on LinkedIn? Can you find them on Twitter? Do they have does the project itself have an active community page? How much engagement is there? How much interaction is there? Are they accountable? And the thing to remember is that if a project is worthwhile, that team will be deeply, deeply convicted in it, and there will be no loopholes. There'll be no sort of shady areas. There'll be sort of no doubt about what they believe in a certain project. So the team is absolutely massive. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about what we saw early in 2025 through the the new platform that was launched called Pump.fun. And this really ties into reputation and why does reputation matter? Okay, so Pump.fun is a platform that was built on Solana, and it allowed anybody, absolutely anybody, to launch a meme coin, to launch their own cryptocurrency. So on paper, like, it sounded so exciting. Like, I can go and create my own cat token. I can go and create a meme coin about ABC down the road. And so it created this massive euphoria. And it sounded exciting, but ultimately what that led to was simply no accountability. Any Joe Blow off the street could go to Pump.fun and pay minimal fees and launch their own meme token into the cryptocurrency market. No history, no accountability, no nothing. There's absolutely nothing behind them. There was no transparency. And so they had like, most of the coins that were being launched, most of these meme coins, they had no utility. They had nothing behind them at all. And what we saw is people were hearing about this, Pump.fun, these new meme coins, these cat and dog tokens, and all the rest of it. And people were jumping in, and they were losing money left, right, and center, purely because these meme coins that were being so easily launched had no backing. They had no substance. There was nothing behind them. They had no team. And so we saw literally millions and millions of worthless tokens. They just flooded the cryptocurrency market. And I personally believe that it actually disrupted the crypto cycle at that particular stage, because everybody's focus was on Pump.fun. Like, how many meme coins are coming out? That's where all the money and the excitement and the euphoria was flowing, was into this Pump.fun ecosystem. And so when people then started to realize that what they were holding was absolutely worthless, of course that led to absolute chaos and panic, because so many people lost bucket loads of their wealth, of their hard-earned wealth. They lost it all because people were just dumping these meme coins onto the market, and they had nothing behind them, absolutely nothing to support them. And so this is a perfect example as to why the team behind a project is so vital, because if you don't know who is behind a project, then what is the point in investing into that? I know that there's a counter argument about Bitcoin, and that the founder of Bitcoin remains anonymous. So got the name of Satoshi Nakamoto, but the actual figure remains anonymous. I understand that there is a counter argument there, but ultimately Bitcoin led the way, and we've seen the credibility of Bitcoin, and we've seen what it can do, and how it's got real world, how it's a real world asset. Okay, whereas these meme coins that were coming out, which had no teams behind them, they were just nothing, absolutely nothing. They were worse than fiat currency, because there was just nothing there. The people who were launching them were taking their cut, and they were just literally just running away with everybody else's money. And of course we saw Pump.fun. They made billions, like literally billions with a B, in trading fees. And so they were, of course, raking in all the dough from all of these regular Joe Blows trying to launch their own meme coin. And so it's important to remember that a strong team will always build a healthy, engaged community. So you've got to have a very dedicated leader for a particular cryptocurrency, a particular project, to actually get legs and to actually, contain some value. And it's important to remember too that communities aren't just hype machines, but we ask questions, and we hold the team accountable. And we help, create that transparency that you need when you are the one who is investing your hard-earned cash into these certain projects. And so when the team itself is real and committed, you can see that flowing through into the community. You can see the work. You can see the building, like the steps that have been taken to build it. And that's when you start to see, that this is a credible project to invest into. And what we often see is teams that are weak and are FOMO driven, so fear of missing out, like FOMO driven. You often see that they only breed hype, and hype doesn't breed value. Hype only breeds, literally huge losses. FOMO literally breeds huge losses. And so you want to be very, very diligent, so that before you go and invest, you find someone who is on the team who has a credible source. So can you find them on LinkedIn? Can you find them on Twitter? Can you ask a crypto mentor, have you heard of this project, and does it contain any value? What steps can you take? What sort of structure can you put in place to say, this is what I do? before I invest into a project, and I don't waver from that. Do you have a checklist in place to say, have I checked this site? Have I checked this? Have I checked the tokenomics? Have I checked the team? Have I asked my mentor? So forth and so on before you actually go and invest into that particular coin. Okay. And so I just want to encourage you to remember that in crypto, trust comes with transparency. Okay. And so a strong, accountable team is the foundation of a project that is often worth your time and worth your wealth and worth your investing. All right. So that's what I wanted to say about team. It's really important to make sure that the people behind it, that the members behind it, are viable, they're worthwhile, they're actually there for the right reasons. And don't get me wrong, I also know that there's a flip side where you can have a really good team and a project can still fail. We're actually sort of witnessing this at the moment. There was a fantastic project, and now we're sort of going through the process of saying, well, the marketing team failed, and they had very bad launches, and so forth and so on. And so don't get me wrong, even though the team may be strong in some senses, it can also be a downfall that there can also be downfalls that flow through from other reasons. And so nothing that I share here is actually infallible. Like it's all, you have to take a real world view of it, but ultimately it's just a case of understanding, what steps should I take first before I actually invest. And so, of course, we know that the responsibility always comes back to us. If we're willing to do our own research, we have to be willing to spend the time before we go and invest into anything. And so the second thing I want to talk about is utility. So technically, where the rubber meets the road. So what's the actual purpose of the project that you're investing into? So utility, the term utility literally means solving a problem in the real world or in the crypto ecosystem itself. Maybe it makes payments faster. Maybe it improves supply chains. Maybe it gives developers a platform to build new apps. There are so many real world cases out there that we can look to, and we just have to be willing to, peel them layers back. What does this actually do? And so it's important to remember that often if a project doesn't really solve a problem, it's really only a vehicle for speculation. And so it might pump on hype, which is what we've seen, might pump on just euphoria and hype. But as we've seen so many times over and over again, if a token is suspended by hype, it simply won't last, okay? And so I always like to ask myself that if a token that I've invested in disappeared tomorrow, would anybody care? Is there somebody in the ecosystem who would actually care? Like, is there enough within that project that makes our investing worthwhile? Okay, and if you answer no, if you think to yourself, if this token disappeared tomorrow, would anyone care? And if you answered no, then you'd have to question yourself, does this project have long-lasting value? Okay. And so when you've got strong utility, so when a particular crypto project has got a purpose and when it's got strong utility, it often comes with strong adoption. So you often see, real people and businesses, developers actually using it and speaking of it and really, giving it the reviews that it needs. And so the other question to ask is there a roadmap that makes sense? So with milestones to be achieved, is there a step-by-step process that the team behind a project has laid out, which is really clear and shows you how they expect the project to roll? Okay, so we see a lot of projects that promise to the moon, but they never deliver. Don't get me wrong, we too have invested into these projects, and this is why I'm sharing this with you, not only to help you understand how to research and how to build a portfolio where you know what you're investing into, but to also help you understand that not every single thing that we invest in is profitable. Like, not every single thing that we invest in turns into something that we expect it to turn into. And so it's really important to remember that. But at least if we do our own research first and we tick all the boxes that we've got listed out for ourselves, at least we can say, well, I've done everything right at the start, and then it was actually the project that failed, not my own research. Okay. And so it's really, really good to remember that if you're ticking all your boxes, then you've done everything you can. But first and foremost, you have to tick the boxes. All right. And so in simple terms, really, the way to consider it about utility is that if a coin is that if a coin doesn't have utility, it's like a car without an engine. So, like a flash car looks nice, looks shiny, looks beautiful, but if it's got no engine, it's not taking you anywhere. And same with it with a coin. If it looks flat, it's all beautiful on the outside, there's all this hype, but if there's nothing to actually drive it, it's not going to go anywhere. And so it's a really good analogy to think, what is actually driving this token? Like, what is making it move in return is going to, help my portfolio grow. So the next thing I want to talk about is the tokenomics. And we often know that that tokenomics is one of the most overlooked parts of the research, but it's critical. And from my perspective, it's often one of the easiest things to look at and to work out, because the data is always right in front of our eyes. And a bit later, I'm going to show you exactly how I look at the tokenomics. But it's basically the tokenomics are literally the economics of a token, how it's created, how it's distributed, and how it's maintained over time. So the first thing to look at is supply, like how many tokens exist in total, how many are already in circulation. And you know that when you look at these figures, if there's only a small amount of the tokens in circulation at the time when you're doing your research, and the rest are locked up with insiders, you know what's going to happen, because those insiders, as soon as the price pumps a bit, they would dump their bags and they would tank the price of that particular project. And I'm not being derogative in any way when I say this, but this is exactly what we've seen with a project called Ripple XRP. The founders, the creators of this token hold massive bags of XRP, and as soon as it reached certain price points, they dump their bags and they flood that market. And all the other retail investors that hold XRP are paying the price for that. Okay. And so it's really important to understand what tokens are in circulation now, how many are going to be released in the future, like what do the token unlikes look like, and as I was saying before, the roadmap, what does the roadmap look like for the project that you want to invest into? So we also look at the inflation rate. So does the project have a structure in place to be constantly minting new tokens? If it does, then that could mean that it could devalue the tokens that you have, the holdings that you have. Or do they have a burning mechanism that reduces supply over time, meaning that, after a certain amount of time, this many tokens will be burnt, therefore, bringing in more of a scarcity structure through less and less tokens for a broader market. And so we often know that scarcity often drives value. And so it's a big one. So we really need to understand what is the tokenomics of this? How many are in supply? How many are coming? Are they minting them? Are they burning them? How many is held in private wallets? Like really start to try and understand, how everything is absolutely structured. And of course, we need to also check the incentives. So people, we also need to check the incentives. So the incentive may come in forms of like airdrops and such other things. And so for people who are holding certain projects for the long term, is it built to reward them, or is it built to reward the early whales, like I say, the founders of a token, those who knew about it before everybody else did, who can cash out quickly? And so remember that if the tokenomics don't make sense, even the best idea can fail, okay? In crypto, a financial structure is what keeps the engine running. So always remember that every project that you invest in must have a structure. So let's roll on and talk about the community. So a crypto project without a community is like a business without its customers, right? It really does not work, because community is what gives a project momentum. And in some cases, it's more powerful than the actual technology itself, because you need community. You need people to talk about it. You need people to share the word. You need people to pump up to push up the post, on social media, and to watch the YouTube, watch the content on, and really, sort of push out the project that that community is passionate about. And the community needs to be engaged. There needs to be engagement. And, are people contributing ideas? Are they building tools? Like, can you build on top of the project that you're considering investing into? Can people build on top of that and go again? Because that if people spread the word, then they truly believe in that particular project. Because otherwise, on the flip side, is it just bots and hype accounts on X creating the noise? And you can really filter that out, because you can often tell what is, what is dinky die, real engagement, and what is just bots and hype engagement. And so you've really got to do your research and start to understand that this is real or this is just fake. And what we often see is that those who love a good solid community, they will ask the tough questions. They will share their knowledge. They will stick around through the ups and downs. They will ride the wave through the bear market. They will ride it up through to the bull market. They will stick with that community. And if you're watching from the sidelines, if you see a really, really solid community, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to know that particular project, that particular cryptocurrency has got good, solid structure behind it. Okay. So a way to find out, what community is tied to a project is to go to Discord, and I will share this in a little bit as well. But to go to Discord, so when you look up a certain project, and I'll share some sites in a moment, you can often find their Discord server connected to that, and you can go in there and you can start to really understand, how is this community handling this project. Don't get me wrong, Discord can be proper overwhelming and it can absolutely drive you insane. But I would recommend that when you invest into a certain project, that you still go to their Discord just to see what is happening there, how many people are in there, how much chatter is going on, how many questions are being asked. Are the developers helpful to the community? Are they answering their questions? Are they wanting to support them? Are they wanting to encourage them to continue to invest into that particular project? Okay, so Discord is always a very, very good place to start. And you will also know too by if you spend some time in Discord, you will know by the type of conversation. So if it's just all hype and moon talk, as we say in crypto, if it's just all fluff, then you know that there's not a lot of substance there. But if it's dinky die, if it's real, like if you really feel that there is a connection there, then you often know that it's genuine, and there's a lot of collaboration happening around there. Okay. All right, so now I want to talk about the particular tools that I use. So what do I personally use when I want to research, different cryptocurrency projects, when I want to really, delve into it deep? So let me go in. I'm going to share my screen, and I want to show you a few different tools that I use myself. So the first one that I want to show you here is CryptoBubbles. Now I use this one every single day. I often jump in here and I will flick between the hour, the day, the week, the month, the year, and I'll just look at how different projects are faring. Like, what do they truly look like? And I spend a lot of time on the day and on the week, because that's sort of where you can really start to understand how projects are moving. And so, say for example, if you jump in here on the day tab, and you decide that you want to look, at some of these projects that are pumping off. So let's use Asta. Asta has been going to the moon recently, and for full transparency, we do hold Asta in our crypto portfolio. So say this one floats your boat, you can just click on that, and it will pop up here, and it will show you so much different data that you can actually look at. You can click on here for it to take you into CoinGecko. Let me just reshare. So you can click on here and it will pop up and it will show you some data that you can see just with a blink of an eye. So you can see here it's giving you the links for CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, into TradingView. You can see the overall market cap here, 3.43 billion. You can see how much money has been flowing through this project in 24 hours, so 2.55 billion. You can see a bit of a graph here, and you can see when these metrics fill out the percentages that will be moving. So let's say, for example, you want to have a look at Asta in CoinMarketCap. So you just hit that little button here, this little blue M here, and it will pop straight across into the Asta file over on CoinMarketCap. And this is where you can go deeper then and start to do some more research. So again, it's just showing you the exact metrics here, market cap, the volume. And so this is what I was talking about before about the supply and where the unlocks are coming. So yeah, on this section here, you can see that it says circulating supply is 1.65 billion Asta, and you can see it's only filled in about a quarter of this circle here. And the total supply is going to be 8 billion Asta. So that way you know that this has still got 3/4 of its way to run, almost a bit more actually than 3/4 more than what is already released. So we're going to see a massive influx of this token called ASTA hitting the market when these 8 billion get released, okay? And so this is how you can really start to understand. So then you can say, well, okay, if there's going to be 8 billion ASTA floating around, what is that going to make the actual market cap perform like? So you would times, according to today's price, so $2.07 USD times 8 billion would give you the market cap that potentially ASTA could get to if all of its 8 billion tokens reach $2.07, okay? And so this gives you an idea as to say, well, how much money would have to flow into this project if all 8 billion tokens were released today. This would be the value of the project, and it gives you some perspective. I'm not saying that one thing is right or wrong. I'm just saying that this is just the way that you can look into it, and the way that you can start to understand, how can I really tap into this and start to understand how does this particular project work, okay? So if we scroll down a bit further, you can see here they've got their website. You can click on their website here and it will open up into their website tab, okay? And again, you have a quick read through here and you start to understand, what does all of this mean? What does it look like? You can really start to understand who is behind it and what are they doing. So up here in the top right hand corner, you can select their X button. You can also, as I was saying before, join their Discord. So you can hit the Discord button and join their Discord. Let's jump across to X and see what this has got to say. And so you can see that this particular project has already got 200,000 odd followers. And so this is just what you do. And then you analyze and say, well, is this something that I want to invest into? It does all of this stuff tick my boxes? All right. And so this is just where I wanted to start, just to sort of show you, the first place that I go when I'm starting to look into a project is into CryptoBubbles, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, and really start to peel them layers back, all right? Now, the other place that I wanted to show you, of course, is TradingView. So let's jump across to TradingView. And you can just see TradingView is just a place to see, how the market is running. It gives you the graph. You can do all your metrics on there, and you can adjust it, to however you want it to look for yourself. Okay. And so if you want to shrink this down into a bit more of a smaller time frame, let's jump into an hour. And it really gives you an idea as to say, well, this is where it started, this is where it's risen up to, and it's had its little dip and it's rising up again, and so forth. And then you can start to draw your metrics on it and say, hey, this is what it's going to do over, this is what I projected to do, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's what I wanted just to show you there. So let me just come back. And so the next one that I wanted to talk about was on X. So I use X all the time. It is it's probably my main social media platform that I spend a lot of my time on, and I have a very strict filtering system in place about what I see on X. So if there's something on X that I have coming through my feed that I don't believe floats my boat, I will actually push that out so it doesn't show up again. And so I'm very, very, very particular about what I feed on. But X is a very good place to do crypto research, because X is quite a crypto friendly platform, unlike YouTube, unlike Facebook and those others. X is actually a very, very good platform to start to do crypto research, because it's very, very crypto friendly, and it's very, very much in the freedom. The next place I'd recommend that you look at, of course, is YouTube. There is lots and lots and lots of content on YouTube, and again, you need to have a filter on. You need to filter out what floats your boat and what doesn't. You need to just be very diligent, and I guess cross-reference. If you're watching stuff on YouTube, you need to make sure that it's not just a hyperbolic YouTube video, but that it actually has value and it's actually going to help you invest into different projects. The other thing that I highly recommend is listening to podcasts. So I'm a big podcast listener. We'd love for you to join our podcast. This is streaming across onto Spotify. So if you want to listen to this as a podcast form, that's awesome as well. But I listen to a lot of podcasts. So whether that means I'm out in the garden, or whether I'm washing up or cleaning the house, or sometimes even here in my office, I've always got a podcast going, because it helps the mind, helps me, keep abreast of what's moving and shaking in the markets. And so I would recommend that you listen to a very valuable podcast. Again, so much junk out there, but make sure you filter out and find something that floats your boat, that ticks your boxes. My only recommendation in a podcast that I would highly recommend is one called Discover Crypto. Very down to earth, and so easy to understand and so easy to follow, and quite transparent and clear about what their direction is and what their passion is. I've spoken on TradingView. TradingView is an awesome place just to go and start to understand charting and start to understand, how a project is moving, of course. And last but not least is mentors. So as I touched on earlier, we do have crypto mentors that we rely heavily on. And often what I find is that even though I have a lot of trust in my crypto mentors, and so say for example, if they suggest that we invest into a token, then I'll take that as a trusted source. But ultimately, we still have to be so careful that we're not just relying on one thing. So often, what I'll do is, if my mentors suggest to invest into cryptocurrency, and they specify that it is time, like it is like you need to do it in a timely fashion. Often I'll put a small investment into what they're suggesting, and then I'll have the time then to do my own research and then start to understand, is this something that I want to take further or not? And so that's what I recommend you do as well. If you have a mentor, to really start to ask them, if you found a cryptocurrency project that you think would be a good investment, put it to them and say, hey, have you heard of this? What can you tell me? How can you help me with this? And ask the question, because if you don't ask the question, you're not going to know the answers. And so really leverage, crypto mentors, and such other things. Just what I should touch on too before I move on, about YouTube. Be very, very careful of anything that you see in YouTube comments. Okay, make sure you have red flags everywhere in the YouTube comment section, because that is one of the hottest places for scamming to come in the cryptocurrency space. And the other really, really hot space is in Discord. If people are private DMing you, private messaging you, saying, hey, send me money and I'll make you 1,000% return, have red flags, because that is also, scammers absolutely love private messaging in Discord. Okay, so again, do your own research. That's the term we use, but be very, very, very diligent. Like, have your antennas out there and have them up, and help and make sure that you're ticking all the right boxes for yourself. So I just want to quickly talk about a few red flags that I would recommend that you just have your eyes open to. So first and foremost, of course, is anonymous teams with no accountability, guaranteed returns. And if someone is saying that you will make XYZ% on this investment, then you know that is a massive red flag, because nothing is guaranteed in crypto. And let's be honest, nothing is really guaranteed in life, full stop. If the project has got no clear roadmap, or if their roadmap keeps on changing, that's a massive red flag, because if they keep moving the goalposts, then you've also got to keep moving your investment goalposts, and it makes it very, very, very complicated and quite frustrating at times. Okay. If community channels are filled with hype but have no substance, then that's also another red flag. So make sure that you're filtering out, what is real and what is just rubbish pretty well. And if you're investigating a project and you read their white paper, and if the white paper comes across as being overly complicated, or full of jargon, quite often they release them like that to deliberately cause confusion, instead of actually explaining it. So a white paper should be, like a white paper should go deep, but it should not cause confusion. Okay. So my recommendation to you is that if you see any of these that I've just talked about, it's always better just to step back, because there's always more opportunities out there, and you don't need to gamble your hard-earned money on a project that doesn't pass a basic smell test, so to speak. All right. So the last thing that I wanted to suggest, that you look into, is partnerships and like real world adoptions. And so, as I've been talking, who is backing it? Are there business or institutions actually using it, or is it just a promise that's got nothing to show? For example, a really good project that I personally am invested in that I really like is Link. So Chainlink, their real world asset use case is absolutely phenomenal, and you can look on there, and there are so many like major institutions and companies around the world that are now using the Link project to expand their own businesses, their own companies. Okay, and so Link is a massive one. It's a really good example because it has a lot of support from the business community. And so, yeah, it's really good to remember that strong partnerships can validate a project. And so remember that if you see a crypto partnering with a major payment processor, and so there's always a catch though, you always need to confirm that you are verifying this for yourself. Okay, some projects often have fake partnerships because we know how much cloning and how much fake news there is out there, or they can also exaggerate what connection they've got. But ultimately it's up to us to do our own homework, and to really check how official everything is, and to really see how can I make this work for my own portfolio. And so remember, at the end of the day, research is your shield in the crypto world. You're like, that is your buffer. If you're not willing to do your own research, then you are putting that buffer down. You are opening the door and allowing yourself to be open to all the different hype and scams and rubbish that is out there. But ultimately, if you take the time to study the team, the utility, the tokenomics, the community, and use the right tools, the tools are free, guys. You don't need to fork out subscriptions every month for tours. Most of them are free. Ultimately, if you do that, you will be ahead of 90% of the investors that are out there. And so remember that every investment that you make should come from a place of knowledge and confidence, not fear and impulse, and not fear of missing out. FOMO is the biggest killer, no matter what we're investing in. So be very careful that when you invest, that is not from wanting to keep up with the Joneses, okay? Just because your mate said to invest in it doesn't mean that you have to do it. Do your own research first and really start to understand if something that you want to invest in ticks all of your boxes. Remember that research is your superpower. It protects your money and it grows your confidence to take the right opportunities when they come along. Doing the research is available to all of us, and like I've been saying, it's absolutely free. We can tap into all the research that is there. It's absolutely free. We just have to be willing to do it. We have to be willing to invest the time into doing the research. So if you found all this helpful, I would love for you to subscribe to us on YouTube. I'd love for you to follow us over on Spotify, listen to us, give us a rating and review, leave a comment if that's what you'd like to do, leave me some feedback if you like. I would so love that. But ultimately, if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, we would be deeply grateful. So always remember, knowledge protects your money, curiosity grows it. Until next time, keep living the dream. See you later.